Hello. Hi. My name is Patricia Fitzgerald and I am the artist behind Healing Creations. So I'm just going to wait a little bit to see if people can see this video yet. I know it takes a few minutes for Facebook to put it out there. So if you can see it, can you let me know that the sound is okay and you can hear me okay? Hi Mark, I can see you there. Hope everything is well. Thanks for coming along. I'm just waiting to see for more people just to join in. So I know it takes a little bit for Facebook to get it out there. So, and my daughter's cup of water. So yes, I see 5 people. Yeah, if you can let me know that the sound is okay, that would be really useful. And please feel free to fire in any questions that you have. I have lots here anyway. I think I could probably talk for about 10 hours. So I'll get started. Karen and Ivan, I don't know if Ivan, are you watching? Ivan is in Croatia and Karen's in Dublin. Were asking me about the materials that I use. And I know I get a lot of questions about materials and compasses and all that kind of thing. So I'm going to start with oh brilliant, thank you. Thanks Mark, that's great. Hi Lena. I'm going to start with compasses. This is generally the type of compass that I would use. Hi Ivan, joining in from Croatia. So Croatia and Norway is great. It's amazing, the internet, it's just fabulous, isn't it, that we're all so connected. Hi Siobhan. So I'm going to start off with compasses. You know, you can get the cheap little compasses in shops generally, you know, but this is the one you want to go for. We see it has a little wheel here, so that allows you to do fine movements with it. And then you just press these two to get a greater movement. And that will stop the compass from moving when you're doing very precise geometry, particularly with sacred geometry. This bar also moves in here, so that will allow you to do very fine, small circles. Which is very, very useful as well. So that is the kind I would get. And often they will come with an extender arm. So you can see this one, I have the extender attached to it, and I just leave that attached. I have 2, because if you're constantly taking them apart and putting them together again, they break so easily and they're so fiddly. So again, that has I can do the fine motor movements. It doesn't have the bars to go in and out quickly, but that's not a problem. And then it has a pen holder attachment. So you can see there. So it means I can put a pen in and draw directly with the pen rather than having to go in pencil first or with those fiddy little leads, which I just find I can't use. So that's the way I would do the larger circles. And of course, if you want to go larger again, the way to do that is with a nail and a piece of taut string or a thumbtack or something like that. So you're making your own compass really with string. So that's compasses. For materials, I use a very wide range of materials. It could be if I'm working on paper. So this piece here, I know it's really shining in the light, is done on black, it's kind of a thick card that I get. You'll get that in any good art supply shop. I would use, this piece I've used metallic pens and pencils and some acrylic paint. So that's lovely to work on, and I love bringing the light kind of out of the dark. Hello Alfred, your photos of India looked amazing. Hello Celine, lovely to see you here. Feel free to ask me any questions. Hopefully I can see them as they come up. I can kind of see them on my screen. I can't see them on the computer, I don't know why. So that is the paper stock. So I'll show you some of the pens that I would use on paper. And this is one of my favourites. It's a Uniball, Signo Uniball. And you can get these in lots of different colours actually. And there's a pink one as well. I've only discovered those. I thought they were only in gold and silver. But you can actually get other colours. And I found them, if anyone's looking, in Dublin, in Dundrum, that new shop in House of Fraser. I can't remember the name of it. It's gone. It's like a paper chase or something. So you'll find them all. I always have my eyes peeled for different things. So, you know, you get them in the regular art shops, but also other shops when you're out and about. It's great just to have a look around and in other countries too, which I get these. Look, I love these, the Pen Touch. And that's a thicker metallic. So I would do, you can see the golds on the back, on the piece behind me here, will be done with this Pen Touch. And I got those in Malta. And I have a friend who goes regularly to Malta, so she stocks me up with my Pen Touches. I really like these. I like the gold. It's not too green, or you know the way sometimes it can be brassy. This is the nicest one that I found so far, and the nibs are really good. They don't, some of them can get quite scratchy. So, hi Sheila. So the Pen Touch, really recommend that. You'll probably get them online on Amazon, I presume. I just have Claire going off to Malta from me, which is really nice. Then for doing detail on the pages, these are acrylic paint pens called Posca. So they're a great brand. So it's like a paint in a pen. So you can get various different nib widths. I have some more here. That's a thicker one there. The green, you can see the difference. I'll just take off the, so that's quite fine. And you can get finer than that again. That'll be thicker. And you can get really, really thick ones to do big areas. So I would use those a lot on paper. I would also use them on canvas. And when I am working on canvas, I would recommend getting, you know, if you are doing very geometric work and working with a compass, for geometry, you need precision. You need to have your pencil sharp. Like if you're doing a flower of life or something like this, there's no room for error here. So you can't be using a thick pen to do that. You have to go with very, very fine. And hence also the canvas has to be very fine. So you can see the big canvas behind me here. Thanks, Celine. I love this piece. It's called Unity. It's actually sold now. It's going to its new home, I think, next week. Yeah, I use Bell Art canvases, and they do a fine grain canvas. Now, they're quite expensive. So a canvas, say a blank canvas like that, might cost you around €80 for the canvas. With the fine texture of that, you'll be able to draw the geometry. Now, it still will be a bit scratchy and you have to be quite careful. I would often spray. I go out the back garden and there's always squares on my grass of mad colours, which I have to lawnmower over every now and then. But this is, it's called Black is the name of the brand. And it's acrylic paint, spray paint. So I will often spray the canvas first, so really go for it. And sometimes something really magical happens, but I know I'm always drawing over it, but sometimes the piece that you do with the spray paint can be just as beautiful. It could almost be a painting in itself. And I really enjoy that. I work extremely intuitively. I have absolutely no idea what I'm going to do when I begin. For me, this is a process of intuition. It's a process of connecting to something much bigger than yourself. And so I would really, I often get people and they're asking me what I use and they're trying to do what I do. But really, it's not about that. It's about you finding yourself through this medium, and it's so powerful. Celine asks, if you're not good at art, is it difficult to do a mandala? Not at all, Celine. They're within every one of us. I give classes. I give day-long classes, and I also host retreats, and I often get people coming, and I love, people come for all various reasons. It could be that somebody told them at some point that they were not creative in their life. We are all creators. We create from the moment we wake up in the morning. We decide what we're going to wear that day. That in itself is an act of creation. We decide what we're going to eat. So it's literally a belief that you've taken on, that I'm not good at art or I'm not creative, this kind of thing. And mandala is a lovely structured way to get back in touch with that part of you that is just integral to you. It's just such a powerful thing to connect with. So I'm just going to continue. Karen asks, how many hours a day do I work? A lot, Karen. A lot. So the piece behind me, I know somebody else had asked how long a piece takes. I think Liga had asked that, how long a piece takes me to do. That piece behind probably took, I don't count the time. Time goes very fast when I'm doing it, and it's very much a form of open-eyed meditation. That piece probably took between 60 and 80 hours. Obviously there's different, I work different ways. This piece I did in one day, but I stuck at it probably about 6 hours because it's quite a complex geometry. So it'll depend. And then somebody else had asked the question, do I work on one piece at a time, or do I work on multiple pieces? I tend to work on one piece at a time. Sometimes I will leave one and come back to it maybe a couple of weeks or months even later. But I'd never have 2 or 3 on the go at the same time. They're very much a process, and they're a process into the delving into the subconscious mind. For me, it's a very, very spiritual experience, and you are delving very deep into the subconscious. Carl Jung would have used them in that way, delving into the subconscious, and the dream, like the experiences I have, the synchronicities that surround the work. Often I'll be working on something and something will come into my head, and next thing it'll pop up in a conversation, or it's quite phenomenal. And then my dreams will be absolutely intense. They're almost like virtual reality, like there's this other reality going on. And sometimes I will get dreams of symbols, different things like that will happen. So it's very, very interesting. I try to journal my dreams when they're happening. I've kind of got a little bit out of the practice, and it's something I'd like to start again. I'm going to show you, sorry, off camera. This is Carl Jung's, very heavy and huge, so sorry, but it's the Red Book. And he wrote this in the latter part of his life. It's so heavy for me to hold here, sorry. But you can see it's almost like an illuminated manuscript. It's a dialogue between his soul and the soul of the time. And just a phenomenal read, if you're on your spiritual journey. It's a must-have. Now, you can get a reader's edition. I don't think that's a bedtime read, that big book, but it's beautiful. That happens to you, Karen, as well, the synchronicity. It's phenomenal, isn't it? It's really like, I call them God winks. It's like you're on the right path, and it's just phenomenal the way opportunities open up, and the right people at the right time. It can be so, so, so powerful. Ivan says, would you recommend studying from books, or would you just let the process be purely intuitive? Do you know what, Ivan? Sometimes my brain kicks in and I say, I want to understand, I want to understand, I want to understand. And it's very much, I come from, when this journey began for me, it began with synchronicity, I suppose. And my first port of call was to understand it. It was the scientific. I read quantum physics. I was reading Jung on his work on synchronicity, and just really trying to understand. And then I just began to do them. And from the doing of them, wow, it's just, you can't even put words on it. I know, Ivan, you practice as well. And, it doesn't have to be completely intuitive. But I think when you do, you tap into something extraordinarily powerful within yourself. And by going into the self, you're connecting with something much greater. I hope you can't hear that cat scratching at the window. My cat is outside and scratching at the window. But yeah, no, I do. I read a lot of books, and I'm very curious and wanting to understand. But I think it's something that's so complex yet so simple, if that makes sense. I think there's a time for books, and there's a time to be purely intuitive. And I think it's all about balance. And just like when you're doing mandalas, that whole idea of balance, and you're balancing both sides of the brains, the masculine and the feminine energies, just allowing, there's times when you feel that the feminine energy of intuition going with that, and there's times you'll feel the masculine energy of understanding, of logic, and going with that. There's a lovely balance between those two, and those two are not exclusive from each other. They merge together very, very beautifully. And I think most of my work is about the balancing of the masculine and the feminine, and the divine feminine coming back into play. But yeah, so I was still on my materials. I hadn't finished there. When I'm working on the fine art canvas, the fine canvases, I would use these acrylics. So Golden are a beautiful brand. They are very expensive now. So if you're beginning, I'd suggest starting, in Europe there's a shop called Sourced Green, and they do these lovely acrylic. They have a fabulous range of colours. So, just get yourself a small canvas if you're just beginning on it, and play around, Don't go buying, these cost a fortune, but these will last, they will last years and years and years. But that Golden is the brand I like, and also Winsor & Newton acrylic. And when you are mixing acrylic, a lot of people mix acrylic with water, and the bonds, the molecules in acrylic won't bond with water, and there is a chance that they would crack over time. So if you use a medium, so you can get there's lots of different mediums. I know Golden do them. This one is Winsor & Newton, a flow improver that makes the paint a little bit more fluid, for doing detail and for blending and things like that. So just looking into that, and there's loads of YouTube videos on how to use acrylics. Just thank God for the internet. So other questions do I have here? Tara asks me, do I play music when I work? And if so, what do I listen to? And what times of the day are most creative for me? So the answer is yes, I listen to music all the time. I would listen to a lot of very spiritual music and a lot of mantras. I love Krishna Das. I would listen to a lot of kind of dance music as well. And it's very interesting because the energy of the music really translates into the painting. And there is a strong correlation between music and mandala. So somebody else had asked me, Isabel and Emer asked, would you be able to explain what sacred geometry is and how you apply it to your mandala work? So, so sacred geometry is like you have 9 numbers, you've 9 conceptual numbers, and they are just a part of nature, they're truth, and you can't ever change over space or time. It's probably the only truth you can touch on. So for example, if you're dealing with geometry and you're looking into a shape, it can go into the point forever, and equally it can expand out forever. So you're touching on the infinite, you're touching on something very, very sacred, and something that's very difficult for us to understand. And there can be moments of pure clarity with that process. With sacred geometry, you are harmonizing with those natural shapes, with those natural elements. And Karen asked me, is there a connection between music and mandala? And absolutely yes. The word mandala, well, the first known usage of it was in a chapter of chants in the Vedic scriptures. So it's originally coming from sound. And many of you may have seen yantras. So you know about mantras. Mantras are chants, so that the monks would chant, and a lot of people use chanting as a spiritual exercise. And a yantra is like the visualization of that chant. So for example, if you have heard of the Sri Yantra mandala, which is kind of not dissimilar, it's not dissimilar to that, but that's an intuitive one that I did. But that chant, or that yantra, is a visualization of the Om sound. So for example, say if I have my singing bowl right here, and I do okay, you can really hear the vibration of that. If I had a plate, a bendy metal plate, and I put sand on top of it, and put that beside this bowl and did that with it, the sand would rearrange itself into a shape. It's called, in science, it's called cymatic frequency, where you can see sound becoming visual. There's a great video, it's on my website in the interesting video section, by a guy called Nigel Stanford. It's a music video, and it's absolutely brilliant. It'll really show you the connection, that energy between sound and visual, and between sound and matter, that everything is energy. Literally everything is energy. So there's really an energetic frequency coming from the work that I do. And many of you have come done guided meditations with me, either online or you've probably maybe come to workshops or retreats. And I do very deep guided meditations at those workshops and particularly the retreats. And I would use sacred sounds. So there's a guy that I work with, he's in New York, called Ian Morris, from Listening to Smile. So many of the meditations that I've recorded are using Ian's music. And like that, you know, the harmonies, you're resonating with a natural harmonic, you're resonating with nature. And we've become, as human beings, I think, very detached from nature. We even say, you know, I'm going out, you should get out more into nature, as if you weren't nature yourself. Which is interesting, isn't it, really, that our own language and our way of speaking literally separates us from nature. And I think, you know, when you're engaging with sacred geometry and you're engaging with sound frequencies, you are coming back into harmony with nature, I suppose. And that's something really, really powerful. I know if you watch Nigel Stanford's video, I'll try and post it in the comments below afterwards. You can see what I mean. And if you think of your body is 75% water, and you can see the effect of sound on matter, you can see how it is actually having a physical effect on your body. And equally, you know, if you walk into an abbey, say an abbey or a Georgian house, something where the proportions are very, very beautiful, you immediately feel a sense of calm. You just go, you know that feeling? Because we love proportion. We just love proportion. And I think the more that you can have awareness of proportion and beauty and aesthetic in your life, you really can take quite a lot of control over your life. And the same goes with sound, you know, like fix the squeaky door. You know, the difference between you listening to a Bach symphony or listening to a soap opera where everybody's arguing, I think, you know, it's obvious, you know, you just instantly feel better. So it's just being conscious and having instead of going through life just kind of doing, oh, that's what everybody else does, really start thinking for yourself, what in your home pleases you, what sounds please you, what things please you. You know, drink out of beautiful mugs, says me with Rebecca's. I love this mug though, it's my inner child. Yeah, no, it's a fascinating topic, and it's so vast. I mean, you could, like Ivan, you're asking, you know, would you recommend books? I think you could open a book and you could never come out again. It's like Pandora's box. You open this thing and it's vast. It's covering the universe, and it's really you know, really piques your curiosity. And the one thing with it, like I would find, is that you become so much more connected to nature, in that you notice the things around you. You get back that childhood fascination with the world that was kind of educated out of us, that's been stripped away throughout the years. And that in itself is just phenomenal. So I'm going to say any more. Rebecca, that's my daughter. She gave me a question in case I had none. Rebecca asked me, she said, what do you do if you make a big mistake? And that's a great question, because I'm always saying this to her. Sometimes these, say for example, these Posca pens, you kind of press down on the nib to get the paint out. And sometimes the Posca pen, a big blob of paint will come out. So can you imagine I'm working on something like this and I'm doing little dots, tiny little dots, and I'm all in control, haven't I? And next thing, a big blob comes out. When you kind of look, you say, right, what is your reaction? My reaction 10 years ago would have been very different to what it is now. Now I go, I won't say what my reaction 10 years ago was, there'd be a bit of language involved. But my reaction now is going, oh wow, this is interesting. So this has really opened up a whole new area of possibility of where I can go with the painting. And it's so interesting to watch that evolve. And it's always the work where a mistake, or inverted, I hate doing that, but yeah, mistake happens, which gets to be the most interesting and which people really comment on. They go, oh my God, I love that bit. It's like it leads you down. Suddenly you were going one way and suddenly this whole other arena has opened up to your creativity. And it's also brilliant for problem solving. I take it out into my own life. For example, I got locked out of the house one day, and instead of, cursing and feeling very sorry for myself, I just went, this is interesting. I wonder what will happen next. And I ended up having a brilliant conversation with the next door neighbour and chatting about mandalas and different connections that we had. And, it is phenomenal. Instead of getting stressed about when something goes wrong or a mistake happens in your planned out day or life, that you get curious instead. And when you get curious, it's very powerful. For one, you're not stressed. It won't do you any harm anyway, will it? But you also will notice other things and other opportunities, and you'll notice you're talking to different people than you planned on talking, and just become very conscious and aware of what happens in that space, because it's really, really fascinating. So, with sacred, Isabel asked me, how would I explain sacred geometry and how I apply it to my mandala work? Well, I suppose I will go with my feelings. Sometimes I will feel to work with a particular number. I don't have any rhyme or reason or logic behind that. It's just what feels right to me. And sometimes I will work completely intuitively. Ivan is asking, how do I make digital versions for printing? Okay, well, for what I post on Facebook, I take that with my phone. But then for printing, I will take a very, very good quality photo of the mandala. Now, these are extraordinarily difficult because of the size. That's 120 centimetres by 120 centimetres. And when I took it with my camera, I'm getting blur all over it. So I have got in a professional photographer to photograph the larger pieces for me, Anna Dorado. And she's brilliant, if anyone's in Ireland. But yeah, Ivan, I would recommend, if you can get away with it, photographing it with the smaller pieces, but not with the larger pieces. And then, of course, you could scan them as well. But I do find with the scanning that I will lose, because I use so much metallic, that I lose that shine. It'll come out as a kind of browny yellow on a scan. So it's really playing around with it. Like everything, you'll play around, different styles of photography will suit your particular work. Like sometimes it's lovely, I photograph mine for Facebook or Instagram, it might be just with a candle beneath it and it's lit up, and that will make for a very interesting photograph. But yeah, Christina asked, how do you practice daily mindfulness? What does it consist of, and how do you find calmness? I think with mindfulness, it is deceptively simple. It really, really is. But it's so difficult for us to encompass in our lives for some reason. Well, I know the reason. The reason is that your brain is on default mode to find the negative. Your brain wants to keep you safe. Your old brain, the amygdala, is there and it's saying, watch out, danger, 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 keep me safe, keep me safe. So you're constantly looking for the bad, for the negative or what can hurt you. But with mindfulness, you can begin to catch your thoughts before they run away on you. And I listened to a great talk, I can't remember, it was a monk, and he was speaking about, it's like being in New York and standing on the sidewalk and putting your thumb out for a taxi, and the thoughts are like taxis going by, and lots of them stop, and you can get in or you can choose not to get in. So mindfulness is where you can see the thoughts going by like taxis, and you can decide which one you want to get into instead of it controlling you all the time, which is what our default mode is. And we often spiral, I've done it so many times myself. It's where you spiral into this negative thought pattern. And if you can catch yourself ahead and have your little toolbox of what you do in that situation. So for example, my toolbox is my mandala work, and obviously all artwork, it could be jogging, it could be meditating. You even meditate for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Just get yourself back out of that and back to 0, and then you can begin again to choose your thoughts in a more positive and constructive way. And we do have great power over our minds, more than we probably think. And I think that journey is a lifelong one. And it's something you learn to do, but you have to keep on practicing, because it will jump up and bite you in the ass if you're not keeping an eye on it. So yeah, I think mindfulness is such a worthwhile practice. I'm writing a book at the moment. I'm hoping it will be out later this year. And I will cover a lot of this in that book. Yeah, Lena asked, how do I photograph my work? Natural daylight or lamps? As I said, for social media, and I play around with it, it doesn't really matter. For the prints, it would be natural daylight, not a very sunny day, not a mad where the sun is shining straight on it. Not that we get many of them in Ireland, but maybe elsewhere in the world you might have that problem. But yeah, it'd be kind of a quite a neutral day, and photographing it in that kind of light, northern light, is better. So I think that is all the questions. Oh, Emer O'Neill asked me, she says, I'm utterly fascinated by the balance between the intuitive flow and the intricate calculated details of creating a mandala. I'd love to hear more about how you manage that. So yeah, so the balance between the flow and the detail. Yeah, I will literally go with the flow, like in both ways, so that when I'm creating the geometry or the piece, the design at the beginning, it's completely intuitive. I just go for it with the compass and play. It's the inner child work, really. And sometimes I will go with the sacred geometry, which in that case I get out my geometry book and I do the geometry. But then I work intuitively from then on, and the patterns are all intuitively done. Like I don't really think, I might kind of step back from it and go, what feels right, or I'll take inspiration. I have a little, my little bullet journal. I'd have little kind of doodly pages. That's just my little, sorry, another little page, yeah. Say for example, a page like that, if you can, sorry, the light is shining, where I kind of play and have patterns. So that's very much just a little playtime. And then you can use those in your work later. And they'll always evolve into different things anyway. And Celine, I'm going to ask you, I know you'd asked me about workshops. I'm going to share below the next workshop dates. I'm going to be travelling around Ireland, circling around Ireland with my compass and doing workshops. I'm going to be in Dublin, Kilkenny, Wexford, Sligo, Limerick, and hopefully some more venues as well around Ireland. And I'll post links down below, and you'll also see them. I have them up on the Facebook page in the events section, so you'll be able to click through from there as well. Or my website is healingcreations.ie. So all of the work that I do, most of it, the originals are available for sale, and I also do limited edition prints, and I just recently brought out small little prints that are 25 by 25. Of course I don't have one beside me. And they're lovely little gifts, so they come boxed and packaged, so they're not something a bit different than a bottle of wine or a box of chocolates. It's just something a little bit more meaningful, I think, to give to people. So I hope you've enjoyed this evening, and it's been lovely, and thanks for tuning in. It's lovely to have people turning up, because I was afraid I'd be sitting here on my own talking to myself. So I really appreciate your interaction and all of your following on the page and your support of my work. And so thank you very much, and feel free to fire me any other questions, and hopefully I'll do this again at some point. Okay, bye.